Today I'm sharing 3 simple art journaling projects that I've created that you can join in and make with me. The first project I'm going to make is an affirmation page where I'm celebrating taking back my power and being courageous. In this project I used a crappy old notebook, some wrapping paper, scissors, glue, washi tape, Posca pens, gel pens, black markers, paint, some stamps and ink that I had laying around, and an old tag. I just started journaling. I had a really crappy day, so the words just flowed. I'm not making it neat, I'm overwriting stuff. I don't want it to be pretty. Next, I ripped out a page from one of my books. Doesn't matter what book you use. If you don't like ripping out books, you can use a page from a newspaper or phone book if you still have them laying around. And then I just get a glue stick, or in this case a glue roller, and glue the page down over my journal page. I don't want what I've written to be the focus of my page, so while I've got the emotions out, I'm now covering up to make it something else, something more beautiful. Next up, I'm using some washi tape, some paint. I'm using some blues, some Payne's Grey, a bit of gesso. I'm covering up all the journaling and the book page, but I still want the words of the book page just to come through, so I'm not fully covering up the page with paint. Once I'm happy with how it's looking, I put it to the side to dry. Then I get my tag, which is just an old clothing tag. I cut it down to size, and then I use my ink just to rub around the edges to give it a bit of a distressed look. I found a quote that I'm going to use on my page. You can either print it off or type one out if you have a quote, and I've just distressed the edges of it as well, just to give it a sort of a used feel. I grabbed my stamp kit with my letters and I stamped the words I am on the tag. You can write it if you don't have stamps. Finally, we're just going to put it all together. I'm just playing with the placement. I've cut out a flower from some wrapping paper, some butterflies from a scrapbooking sheet of paper, just sort of figuring it out how I want it to go. When I'm happy with the elements, I'll stick them down. I'm also grabbing my Posca pens. I'm just doing some decorative elements on the side. I grab a Sharpie and I do some writing scribbles really about how I'm feeling, about being courageous and taking my power back. I watered down some gesso and I just dropped some drops around it. I'm pretty happy with how it's sort of turning out. Grab my butterflies. I'm going to distress the edges to make them look a bit, less standy out, I guess, and then just do some little scribbles around. Just keep tinkering with it until you're happy. I really love this style of art journaling. It's a really simple, quick way to release some really negative emotions that might be swirling around. It's definitely worth giving it a go, and you can use anything you've got laying around the house, not just the items that I used. Project 2 is inspired by my morning walks. Where I walk, I'm surrounded by gum trees, and currently all the blossoms are falling off the trees and onto the path. It's like a sea of pink everywhere. It's really cool. So I took some photos of the blossoms and of some gum leaves that I found on the ground, and I'm going to use that as the inspiration for my next spread. So I have a huge collection of pens and markers. So in this project, I'm just going to use Sharpies, a Uniball liner, some white gel pen. I actually have white Sharpie. I don't think it's the greatest, but I'm going to use it too. Some might say I have a obsession with pens. Next, I'm going to go to my notebook that I used in the first project. When I have leftover paint, I will just scrape that leftover paint into my journal pages to use for another day. This one I found a nice pink one. I think that really kind of represents the gum tree blossoms that I was using for my inspiration. And then I just started drawing. I'm just drawing one element just now. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't really have a plan. All I know is that I have the blossoms and the gum nuts and the leaves that I wanted to use for inspiration. So I'm kind of using some shapes and some patterns that I've noticed when I collected them and brought them home. And I'm just going to chill and not really overthink it. I'm going to just play and not worry if I make a mistake or if it doesn't look great or whatever. I'm just going to zone out for a little bit. see here that I've added in some different patterns. I've done a side view of the blossom, I've added some leaves, I added in some circles and some dots and some little stars, and now I'm using sort of the white pen to highlight some of the different areas to make them stand out a little bit more. And again, I'm not really overthinking it. I don't have a plan. I'm just playing and seeing what makes me feel good. So that's project 2. Really easy, needs very little supplies, and you don't have to have a coloured background like I have. You can just do it on a plain piece of paper. And you can just do it sitting in front of the television after a long day at work. It's a really fun, simple project. The third art journaling project we're going to do today is a really sweet one where I'm dressing up photos of my girls from when they were little. I'm going to use things I've got lying around the house that you might have too, so gel pens, glue. I'm using clear gesso, but you might be able to use PVA glue, my notebook, wrapping paper, sheet of scrapbooking paper, washi tape, Posca pens, scissors, white gel pens, whatever you've got lying around the house works for this. So I printed off 2 black and white photos of my girls from when they were little. I actually didn't have any lying around, but if you do have photos lying around, there's no reason to especially print them off. I'm going to glue them down into my cheap notebook. I'm just going to use just a glue stick or a glue roller for this, and then I'm going to cover them in gesso just to give them a bit of tooth. You don't have to do this step. I have done this in the past without it. I just felt for this project I'd use gesso, and if you don't have gesso, you can use Mod Podge. And also, don't do what I did and you do the washi tape first. Do the washi tape after you've done the gesso. So I've got a box of just leftover cutouts, butterfly wings, that kind of thing. So I'll just sort through it and pull out some scraps that I might be using in this. I'm going to use my Sharpies and my Posca pens to just do a little garden growing around bug. I'm not overthinking this. Again, I'm just playing and making marks. It's not a long project. I'm not going to spend a lot of time overthinking it, and I just really want to not overwhelm the picture. I want to, just sort of enhance it a little bit. I have a box of quotes, so I'm going to pick one that I think fits Bug, and then I'm going to move on to Bean. And again, I'm just using butterfly wings, a flower cutout. I'm going to put stockings on her, which I think is a really fun thing to do with these projects, some flowers in her hair, and just put the quote on. I'm really keeping it simple. I don't want to overwhelm the photo. And I love that this is a project that you can do in less than an hour. You can use any photos. You don't have to use photos of kids or of your kids or you as a kid. You can use photos of your pets. You can photos of your loved ones, relatives, ancestors. The list is endless. Just have fun with it. Well, that's what art journaling is, a fun, creative practice. So I hope you've enjoyed the 3 art journaling projects that I shared with you today. I would love it if you gave them a go, and if you do, please let me know in the comments or over on my socials which project was your favourite, and if you would like to see more art journaling projects in the future. If you haven't already, please subscribe and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.